3, verses 1 through 2. Likewise, wives, be subject to your own husbands. Look at that. Peter is echoing what the Apostle Paul said in Ephesians. Not every man without distinction. Be subject to your own husbands. Why? Just like Paul gives a 4, Peter comes with a why. His is so. This is his why. So that even if some do not obey the word, they may be won without a word by the conduct of their wives when they see your respectful. Look at that. Oh my goodness. The word respect. When they see your respectful and pure conduct. Wait a minute, Peter. Is Peter saying that when wives are subject and submissive to their own husbands, that even the ones who don't obey, now it doesn't say they absolutely will be won over. It says they may be won without a word, meaning, oh, I ain't got to nag. I don't have to browbeat. I ain't got to stress him out with my words and being all fretful and quarrelsome. I don't have to do that. The conduct of the wife, when they see the respectful and pure conduct, he might be won over. Not a guarantee, but it's still the posture in which you are called to function in. There are plenty of marriages that are unequally yoked where the husband is not converted. In yesteryear, we have couples that were married 50, 60 years where the wife was submitted to the lordship of Jesus and the husband was not, and she still didn't abandon and leave her marriage. She respectfully submitted to her husband unless he was asking her to sin, and they kept the family together. And somehow we are struggling in this area. And let me ask y'all this. How is a wife going to follow the admonition that is outlined in these 2 scriptures, listening to Michelle? How are they going to do that? Michelle wants you to defy scripture for politics. Defy scripture. Now, let me address the inverse of this, just in case some of y'all might be wondering. Some people might say, well, what if your husband, what if he's the liberal? What if he's the liberal and he's telling you to vote for Kamala Harris and you are a Christian? You're like, I can't do it. What are you supposed to do then? Because believe it or not, that is a very real possible scenario. Let me help you. Biblically, you are to submit to your own husband as unto the Lord. However, does the submission go even to the point where your husband is asking you to sin? No. Why? Because we already have scriptures where you are never to obey God. You're never to disobey God for the sake of what man is telling you to do, even if it is your husband. If your husband is asking you to sin and to violate a clear imperative or God's command, that's where the submission stops. And you ain't got to be hateful about it. You're like, listen, I submit to you as unto the Lord. But in this moment, you are asking me to violate my Christian conscience. You are asking me to compromise my Christian witness. And I have to choose Christ in this instance, respectfully. Respectfully. I cannot do what you're asking me to do. I'm not saying it's easy. But if you need to be able to biblically point out and explain how voting for Kamala, based on the policies that she's advocating and pushing sinful things, and that you would be complicit in your active participation if you went ahead and voted for her. If you can prove through the scriptures that actively advancing wickedness by lending your support, we can easily prove that it's sin. And if your husband is a believer, if he's a believer, he should understand that. And perhaps you might be the one that have to win him over by your conduct, because he might be the false professor and might be actively encouraging you to vote blue no matter who. And you looking at him confused, like, how did we get here? I say in situations like that, husband and wife need to sit and intimately deal with those scriptures together, praying before asking God, open up the eyes of our understanding and help us to walk away with the right biblical conclusions. Because God, what we don't want is a divided home. We want to be submitted to your lordship, but we want to be submitted to your lordship in all things, including this politics. So Lord, you're going to have to soften the heart of one of us. And it's the one that wants to support the wicked things. So you just go into your prayer closet and make it do what it do. But if he's asking you to sin, that's where the submission stops. One more passage. This one is relating to rebellious women. This one is just a bonus. Proverbs 21:9 says, it is better to live in a corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a quarrelsome wife. Ladies, men want peace. Shoot, heck, I want peace. I ain't even a man, and I'll be like, listen, I can't. I live with 2 females, and they are prepubescent, and I'm like, I can't deal with all that quarreling. Y'all got to get a handle on that, or I'm moving to the rooftop, okay? And I'm teaching them every day, don't no man want to hear all that cackling. Like, zip it, right? They're 12. They always going back and forth with one another, and I'm teaching and training them now. Get it, because what happens? I prove to them. I be like, you see how your brothers just exit left and they unsubscribe from y'all when y'all start that? I'm like, these are your brothers. Imagine a man having to live with you listening to all that. He's like, they tune you out. So I'm teaching them same way, ladies. Scripture is telling that it is better to live in the corner of the housetop than in a house shared with a quarrelsome woman. Everything ain't got to be an argument. Everything doesn't have to be an argument. You can assert your opinion by just being like, you know what? In this moment, I'm going to be quiet because we're not seeing eye to eye and I don't want to argue with you. Like, you can diffuse so much of the hothead temper when you're like, let's take a step back and let's talk through what it is that I was trying to say, because maybe it came out wrong and you misinterpreted what I said. But adults should be able to communicate without quarreling. And women, when we quarrel, men don't like that. So let's just put a grip on the quarreling. Like, we're not going to quarrel over this politics stuff. We're just going to have a discussion about it. And more importantly, we want to have a biblical discussion about it. A lot of times these men want to have biblical discussions and we want to quarrel as opposed to having a discussion. That's not the same thing. One more verse, Proverbs 21:19. This is one of my favorite. It is better to live in a desert land than with a quarrelsome and fretful woman. Y'all, the desert is hot. The desert is hot and there is no water there. Can you imagine? Listen, y'all see how hot I get on this daggone set. Like, every 10 minutes, I'm fanning. Sometimes I feel like I'm about to spontaneously combust. So imagine being in the desert with no water. I can't even conceptualize it. This proverb is telling you that it is better to live in the desert than with a quarrelsome woman. There is so much value in emphasizing the value and submission of respect in a marriage, and not wanting to go against and have this behavior of disrupting the harmony and order in the home. And in my opinion, what Michelle is saying here in this speech of hers, it's harmful. More importantly than that, it's ungodly and it's unbiblical. It's unbiblical and just out of order. And so my exhortation is, don't listen to her. Not unless you want to live in a chaotic home, right? Not unless you want to actually destroy your home with your own hands. Don't listen to this foolishness. Now, here's the part that makes me sad. Because there are lots of women who do not know the Lord. They don't know the Lord. They don't have godly women in their lives. And they probably listened to this mess and are probably going to heed her advice. I feel sorry for them. And it makes me sad, but it makes me more bold and passionate about reaching women. Because ladies, this is not it, right? This whole platform of the progressive left is not it. But between Meg Thee Stallion twerking, right? Between Kamala at drag queen shows and between dopehead rappers and P. Diddy party escapees, there is nothing redeemable over there in the Kamala Harris campaign unless you are a God-hating atheist that wants to see this country destroyed. That's what this comes down to.